Hello and welcome to the second video on r/entitled parents. Now you guys loved the previous video on this subreddit so much that I decided to make another one the week after. Now if you see code words you don't understand in the stories I'm about to read, I've got them all on the screen here. This is what they all mean. They're also down below in the description just in case you get stuck. Entitled mother demands I let her kid have my pet turtle? A little backstory. I live in an apartment. I got 3 red-eared sliders as my pets. They're turtles. They're the cutest thing ever and I love them with all my heart. I regularly take them for walks. I just hold one of them in my hand and walk around and I show them around. They love it. Okay, so today I was carrying around Uguay, my oldest turtle. He'll be 3 this June. And showing him how metal felt and letting him walk around on mud and other good stuff. So I'm carrying Uguay and going to a friend's flat to talk for a bit. And as I'm holding Uguay and walking up the stairs to my friend's house, this girl, entitled daughter, who looked like she was 10 to 12 years old, comes up to me and says, "Is that a turtle?" I smile and answer in the positive. She asks if she could pet him, so I agree to let her feel his shell. She just drags her nails across his shell. You could hear her nails scraping his shell. Uguay was visibly upset and kicks out, which is his way of saying he's upset. I say, "Oh, he doesn't like that. Please stop doing it. He's uncomfortable." She gets a bit annoyed and asks me where I got him. Now people usually ask me this, and a lot of people mistreat their turtles or abandon them, so I tell her I got them from a pet store that was shutting down. She asks me where the pet store was located, so I say it was shut down. She just turns around and goes to what I assume is her home. Anyways, after 10 to 15 minutes, I'm walking back down to my flat, and I have to pass that floor. Should have taken the lift instead. Entitled daughter and her entitled mum, we'll call her EM, stops me. The convo goes something like this. "Hi, my daughter seems to like your turtle, and we'd like to know if you'd be able to give him to us." And why would I do that? You've got 3 others, you'll still have 2 more. I don't even know how she knew I had 3 turtles. I never mentioned it. We could pay you $500. Literally $7 for you Americans. For him, if that's fine with you. I'm sorry, but Uguay isn't up for adoption or sale or anything. You can check the shelters if you want to get a pet for your entitled daughter. I'm sure it'll help the animal too. At this point, Uguay felt uncomfortable and started urinating on my hand. Another stress thing I'm used to. "I'm sure we'll be able to take better care of your turtle than you are." The entitled mother just tries grabbing Uguay out of my hands, and Uguay bites her, which can hurt. I'm sure it hurt. She just screeches. Didn't even yelp in pain or anything. Straight up screeches. This was drawing a bit of attention since the apartment is quite small, so I just shove them aside and walk away because what else was I supposed to do? Should have done something else maybe, but it didn't hit me then. I just don't know what goes on in their mind that actually makes them think they are expected to have something else that isn't theirs. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Woman freaks out and tries to steal my money. This event happened a few weeks ago, and before you comment this is fiction, I solemnly swear that this is 100% true. I am a 17-year-old male working for a vendor company called Fairy Tale Productions. It's the kind of company that is hired for wedding parties, birthdays, etc. We do things like photography, a DJ, and the area I'm stationed in, photo booths. I was hired for just the average wedding party on a Saturday lasting from 8 PM to 12 AM. I arrive to the banquet center, build the booth, and get a drink from the bar. I get the usual Sprite, tip the bartender a $5 and check if I get a table. Now the guests had begun to arrive at this time, but I didn't pay much attention to them. I sat at my table since I didn't start for another half hour, but I noticed a tall woman, maybe in her early 30s, and a young daughter, maybe 6 or 7, roaming around my booth. Trying out some of the props like the huge glasses, mustaches on sticks, face masks, and other ridiculous items. Being the kind person I am, I decided to go and let them have a couple sessions before I fully opened. I finished my small drink and head over to the prop table. The girl seemed very sweet and was giggling at the sight of her mum wearing a huge fluffy yellow hat that looked like a German beer mug and had "Beer Rules" in red letters on the front. I tapped the mother on the shoulder to get her attention. She turned and gave me a smile, but it felt off. "Hi, how can I help you, sir?" She said the last word in a threatening tone, but I didn't make anything of it. "Yes ma'am, I just wanted to tell you that I don't open for another 25 minutes, but I'd be more than happy to let you and your daughter go in a bit early." She kindly accepted the offer, and she went in and out the booth a couple of times before she had to take a seat for dinner. Time skip. I was outside the booth, helping customers pick out props, when I noticed the lady with her daughter in tow, but the woman did not look very happy about the line, which I knew why. The line was at least 15 people long, with them in the back, so I understood. As I reached the booth, the daughter became excited and nearly rushed in the booth if I hadn't stopped her. Whoa there, I say with a smile. There are people in there right now, just wait a minute, okay? Bad move. As the daughter began to back to her mother, still smiling by the way, the woman descended onto me. How dare you talk to my child that way, she yelled. She was attracting attention from all of the guests. Even the bride was watching from the head table. The little girl tried to defend me by saying things like, it's okay, mummy, and there were people already in there. But the EM, entitled Mum, wasn't listening. You were so nice just an hour ago. What is wrong with you? Turning down my daughter like that? You are a despicable person. I was just standing there, face contorted with shock, until my body forced my mouth to move and respond. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come off as rude, but there were already guests in the booth, so you would have to wait your turn, ma'am. Wrong thing to say. The entitled mother's face began to turn red, her face constricting with rage. I am a single mother with a young child, and I'm just trying to make her happy, but you hate my daughter. You turned down a small child to get a picture of her own mother, just because there are people already in there? Just ask them to leave. They shouldn't be in there anyways. These picture booths are for children. At this point, the child was on the verge of tears, her cheeks red. I had to force myself not to take the girl away from this woman's clutches, as every thought in my head was saying, help save this girl. Her future is about to shatter if this keeps up. I screw my head on straight and reply, look, I'm very sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to offend you or your daughter in any way, but it looks like the booth is about to open now, if you want to have a go. I noticed that the previous occupants of the booth had retreated, seeing that if they stayed, they might have fallen to this lady's wrath. The entitled mother tugs her child in the booth and begins to take pictures. Time moves on and things are nearly normal, but there is one problem. The entitled mother has not stepped out of the booth for over 6 minutes, and the customers were beginning to get angry. Ma'am, you're holding up the line. I have to ask you to leave the booth and go to the end of the line. The entitled mother pokes her head out of the curtains and gives me a death glare, which still scares me, and replied, fine. She drags her now tear-faced daughter out of the booth and begins to leave, but not before taking my full tip jar and a couple of props. Guests begin to take action at this motion and blocked off the exits, asking her to return what was mine. No, he took my daughter's happiness. Why can't I take some of his things? She was now screaming. So was her daughter. The bride and groom jumped into action, making her return my tip jar and the props, but not after 10 minutes of yelling. As the situation calmed, I was still worried about the girl. How could she still be so sweet with a mother like this? I ran over to the girl as she was silently crying in the corner, and gave her the hat her mother was wearing earlier. She began to slow her sobs and looked at me. I began to ask her questions about her mother, and if this was a normal thing. She said yes to every question that I hoped she wouldn't. I stood up, gave the girl a warm smile, and returned to the entitled mother, who was still shouting about how she was a single mother with a young child. I talked to the bride and groom, telling them what the girl had told me. They looked pale by the time I was finished. They then told me I could leave early. I don't know how you could be so unaware of how obnoxious you are. I'm pretty sure that's like the most entitled parent I've ever seen. And extremely rude. Like, I feel for that little girl. Bully got upset when I didn't invite her or her friends to my birthday party. So this was when I was in 9th grade. It was my first summer ever staying in America rather than visiting my family in Japan. I had very few but very good friends, and I was doing amazing in school. Plus, I was a decent kid. So when I asked if I could go to King's Dominion for my birthday party in the summer, my dad agreed. However, I could only invite 3 people, since the car would only fit so many people, plus my dad planned on having the kids spend the night, and having too many would be chaotic for my dad. Lucky for me, I only really had about 5 people I was actually friends with. However, one was in a different state, while the other one simply wasn't allowed to go because the parents were grounding the kid for a reason I can't remember. So that left my 3 other friends. I had plenty of fun. My dad trusted my friends and I, and didn't go in with us, saying he'd be a burden anyway to us energetic kids. Plus, lots of kids go to amusement parks by themselves in Japan, where my family is originally from. My dad picked us up close to the park's closing time, and we all got something to eat, and my friend slept over that night. I thought it was basically a perfect birthday party. About a week later, I guess word had gotten out to my other classmates about my birthday party. I guess the idea of going to an amusement park for a party sounded like fun to even my bullies, who before this always made fun of me and did their best to exclude me from their own parties. I had been dealing with that for about 3 years, and I was starting to dislike them a lot. Not to mention, they were kind of racist. The 3 girls in the bully group were all blonde, white girls, and my friends and I were different races. Plus, they always make offensive Asian jokes. Like my eyes are too small so boys won't like me, or I'm only smart because I'm Asian. Not like I studied hard or anything. So I was pretty fed up with them to begin with. But apparently the bully's mum, entitled parent, contacted my dad, demanding to know why her daughter wasn't invited. My dad doesn't like getting into arguments and just stated that he could only drive 4 people in his car and that he was sure that I would have invited EP's daughter if there was more space. Blah blah blah. Nope, I wouldn't have. However, the entitled parent wasn't satisfied with this answer and demanded that her daughter be invited to my next birthday party. I thought this was crazy, since by then we'd be in 10th grade, and that's pretty immature. My dad managed to weasel his way out of receiving any more furious animals from the entitled parents, and that was that for the rest of the summer vacation. I had practically forgotten about it by the time school was back, but apparently my bully hadn't. She was pretty passive aggressive about it too, making me out to be the bad guy to the rest of the class for not inviting everyone in the class, when everyone kinda knew that the bully herself didn't invite everyone to her birthday parties either. Anyway, the entitled parent ended up yelling at my mum, who didn't know about any of this since she was in Japan, after school, about how her daughter is a perfect little angel that didn't deserve my bullying, and said she hoped that I would learn my lesson and apologize for being so mean. Unfortunately, there isn't much of a satisfying end to this story, because my parents are very polite people and didn't want to escalate the situation, so they just apologized. The entitled parent was obviously unsatisfied and gave me a glare before taking her kid home. Well guys, that sums up this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you to everyone who has watched and subscribed. It really does help, and I'm so appreciative of it. Thank you. We're nearly at 550k. It's unbelievable. I just want to say down below in the description, I've got my merch links. I got my social media, like my Twitter, Instagram. I recommend you check those out. I got some cool designs for my merch. You know, maybe you consider buying one, you know, I don't know. But I just want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters. I am so grateful and thankful. If you want to support me over there, the link is on the screen and you can get rewards for doing so. So check that out if you feel like you want to. I don't expect you to, but it does help. Thank you to everyone who's watched this video, and I will see you guys later.